On this episode of the High Not to Laugh podcast, I'm going to teach this guy 20 facts about Thanksgiving. And
I'm high on an edible. You are recording.
welcome to the High Not to Laugh podcast, the show where we do 4 different topics. We were going through the MCU at times.
Yep.
Did that last week with Thor. I teach you things. That's what we're doing this time.
Yeah, we debate things.
And then
you tell me about things from the 80s.
Gen X stuff.
Gen X stuff, yeah.
But this is 20 facts about Thanksgiving. And by the way, I'm Craig, and to my right, as always, is the green beans to my casserole.
Jason.
Yeah. All right, you ready to learn?
Yes.
Just jump in with any thoughts and musings you may have on any of these.
All right.
The first Macy's Day Parade was in 1924 and featured animals borrowed from the Central Park Zoo, including elephants, bears, camels, and monkeys.
That's cool. Doesn't make any sense. That's cool.
It was a parade. Animals. Circuses used to put on parades when they'd come into town, so it does make sense. When the first Thanksgiving took place, it did so with no forks because that utensil wasn't commonly used until around the time of the American Revolution.
Huh.
Yep. What? You just try to figure out spoons and knives, or yeah, basically.
Say it again.
They didn't use forks because they weren't common until the Revolution.
Revolution. Like they'd eat with their hands.
And they had knives and spoons.
That doesn't make any sense.
Why
would they have a spoon before a fork? A fork is way more useful.
Okay. And China, they came up with a totally different set of utensils, and by that I mean chopsticks.
So?
But they didn't have forks.
That makes more sense.
Anyway, you get confused about things that aren't confusing.
Yes.
Even though turkey is the tradition, Wampanoag Indians would have actually brought lobsters, deer meat, clams, and eels, and the Pilgrims would have opted for duck or goose over turkey.
I would have liked what the natives had to give.
Never had eel.
I've had lobster.
And deer meat and clams.
Yeah.
And I would try eel. I just never tried.
It's I'm down for a traditional Thanksgiving.
If you love your cranberry sauce, you probably would not have enjoyed attending the first Thanksgiving. Cranberry sauce wasn't invented until 50 years after the first feast.
Wow.
Yeah. Green bean casserole. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Got its start from Campbell's Soup putting out a recipe pamphlet in the mid-1950s. It helped rocket the trinity of fried onions, green beans, and canned cream of mushroom soup to fame.
Yes.
And it also made them quite a fortune.
Yes.
Campbell's estimates 20 million households serve this casserole every year for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And
we do it,
I think,
all year long.
That is far too few times a year.
I decided one time that everybody in my family liked it, so I was like, I'm going to make it. And I was like, well, how can I make it a whole dish instead of just being a side? So I started dicing up cooked chicken into it, and we do that a few times a year anyway, if not more.
Yeah. It's really good. And that's coming from a place of disdain for green beans. I can't stand them.
But you like it when...
But I like green bean casserole.
Yep. According to myth, so it's a myth, Benjamin Franklin nicknamed turkeys Tom after Thomas Jefferson. Supposedly, Ben wanted the turkey to be the national bird. I've heard that before. Thomas Jefferson thought the bald eagle would represent the U.S., so after Franklin lost out, he started calling the turkey Tom in honor of his nemesis. Now, the truth is, they just used to call the male version of things Toms, like tomcats, tombirds. It just meant male. But that story is nice. And it goes around on Facebook, and people are like, really? No, not really. But if you don't do any research, it sounds possible. Let's see. The first ever TV dinner came because of Thanksgiving leftovers. In 1953, a worker at Swanson ordered too many frozen turkeys. 260 tons, too much to be exact. So a company salesman named Jerry Thomas had the idea to create a packaged dinner on aluminum trays. After an assembly line of women scooped turkey, cornbread dressing, peas, sweet potatoes onto the trays, the TV dinner was born.
I guess that makes sense.
So the turkey dinner was the first one that they invented.
Now
The
look where
woman
they are.
who wrote Mary Had a Little Lamb is also responsible for making Thanksgiving an official holiday. After petitioning the government for 17 years, writer Sarah Josepha Hale convinced Abraham Lincoln in 1863 to make it a national holiday.
That totally sounds like an Abe Lincoln thing.
Thanksgiving hasn't always taken place on the fourth Thursday in November. In 1939, FDR moved the holiday up 1 week to help boost retail sales during the Depression. Many people complained about it, and it got moved back to the original date in 1941.
So 2 years it was out of...
And people actually refer to those years under Franklin Roosevelt. They call those Franksgivings. Like in history books, that's what people referred to them as.
Huh.
Yep. Breaking wishbones to grant wishes is not an American original tradition. The tradition was inherited from the British, who got it from the Romans, who adopted it from the Etruscans, who believed that birds had oracle powers. And you believe that birds are not real and they're government spy. No.
Conspiracy hour.
It's one of your favorite conspiracies to watch people argue about,
It is.
though.
I'm in like a dozen groups about birds not being real, and less than half of the people in there actually believe it, but almost half of the people in there
Do.
believe it.
Yeah. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade has European origins. In 1924, the store's immigrant employees celebrated the beginning of the Christmas season like they would have in their European homelands. A parade with knights, jugglers, and clowns. The balloons weren't introduced until 1927. And, yes, they traditionally would have Santa Claus because it was the beginning of the Christmas season. So that wasn't a Macy's original.
The official stance is that Santa and Christmas should be after Thanksgiving is over.
No, Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Not before Halloween.
Yeah, it's weird. The earlier and earlier they keep pushing some Santa stuff, but you know, it's like
no, I don't need
4th of July. You just see Santa in like no shirt. He's wearing shorts and he's got a surfboard, sunglasses.
I had
bald
one
head shining
of him sitting on a beach chair with a Hawaiian shirt on, with swim trunks on, and a drink in his hand.
Yeah. Well, he would be on vacation. That makes sense. But anyway, all right. In 1926, a Mississippi man gave President Coolidge a Thanksgiving gift, a raccoon, which was considered a delicacy. But instead of eating the animal, the president named her Rebecca and added her to the collection of critters that his family already adopted, which included a bear, a hippo, tons of dogs, and even 2 lion cubs.
Interesting.
He's like, I don't want to eat the raccoon, but I'll name it, and I'll hang out with it, and I'll feed it. And if you live in New York, they'll come and they'll put it down.
Yeah, this episode is dedicated to Peanut.
Yeah. Pretty much everything we know about the first Thanksgiving was written in a single letter by a colonist named Edward Winslow, written to someone he refers to as a loving and old friend. The letter is quite lengthy, and he touches on Thanksgiving only briefly.
Huh.
He's like, oh, by the way, we ate a bunch of food with the natives. Like, that was, like, Americans eat about 46 million turkeys on Thanksgiving Day each year.
46 million?
Wine, beer, and whiskey are the three most popular Thanksgiving drinks. The average number of drinks people consume that day is 2.7.
Yikes. Because I know the average is split amongst the whole group.
Yeah.
And I know some of those people are only having one.
And some of those people are probably kids.
Right, not having any.
Unless they're only talking adults. They didn't say clearly.
Right.
Anyway, according to a 2024 survey by Jenny O, a whopping 96% of Americans agree that leftovers are the best part of the Thanksgiving meal. Like slapping together a plate of leftovers the next day.
That's sometimes better. You know?
Yeah, they're
I
saying
completely
it's the best
understand
part.
that.
96% agree with that.
I completely understand that. Now, I had this idea the other day.
Just start with the leftovers?
First of all, that sounds best. No. So you take all the leftovers and you make a calzone with it.
No. An estimated 50 million pumpkin pies are consumed on Thanksgiving Day alone.
Which, by my estimate, is 50 million too many.
Ugh, I hate a pumpkin pie. But whatever. The first presidential turkey pardon was in 1863, but it wasn't for Thanksgiving. Abraham Lincoln granted clemency to a live turkey intended for his family's Christmas dinner.
Oh.
That was the original, yep.
So what exactly is that?
They legitimately take a live turkey and they go, "You're pardoned. You don't have to die." And I'm not kidding. They have sent turkeys to go to Disney World after being pardoned. That sounds like a joke. It should be a joke. It is not a joke. It ends up in a parade at Disney. Uh-huh.
This story gets dumber and dumber. Like, so they have this nice, good turkey that they were going to kill and eat.
Yeah, and they pardon it.
So that they don't kill it and eat it?
No. Do you know what a pardon is? Like if you're in jail and you're on death row and the governor says, "We changed our mind, we're not going to kill you, you can go."
Why would we ever give turkeys that right?
It's tradition.
This
Since
is so
Lincoln.
Weird.
Anyway, in 1705, the townspeople of Colchester, Connecticut are so dedicated to pumpkin pie, they decided to postpone the holiday because bad weather interfered with their molasses shipment, and without molasses, they couldn't make their pumpkin pies, and without pumpkin pies, Thanksgiving wouldn't be the same. So they waited till the weather let up, they got their molasses, and then they all had a town Thanksgiving after the molasses showed up.
So that's why. It's molasses.
Well, it's also the pumpkin gunk. I don't like pumpkin.
Molasses.
Or the spices. If you head out to the stores on Black Friday, there's a group of people you most likely won't see in the crowds. Plumbers. It turns out enough people clog their sinks and garbage disposals on Thanksgiving to make it the busiest day of the year for those handy folks. Do you have anything to say about anything I've taught you, or?
I already forget most of it.
I assumed that. All right, then. And as always, I'm thankful for family, friends, and flour.